I hope everyone is ready for another round of creepypastas because this one was submitted by our user Ghost Shadow. Let's jump right into it. Hawthorne was the kind of town that time forgot. Tucked away in the hills of Northern California, its streets were lined with trees, its skies perpetually cloudy. The only sound that ever broke the quiet hum of cicadas was the wind rustling through the redwoods. It had always been like this, peaceful, almost eerily so. But the townspeople had never minded. They liked their peace and quiet. There was nothing disturbing about it, at least that was the official story. Officially. Hawthorne was just another sleepy little town in the woods, unofficially. It was a place you never spoke about. You could see it if you drove down Highway 101 just after. Mendocino, but you couldn't really see anything. Just some houses here and there. You couldn't stop there either. Not officially, at least. And you sure as hell couldn't stay there. Not officially, at least. Elliot knew none of that, though. He was just your typical nerdy teenager, spending most of his days coding, gaming and trying to impress the girl he liked, Emily. That was how he spent his summer vacation. And it was also how he spent the day his grandfather died. Elliot barely knew the old man anyway, but still he felt something akin to guilt when he found out his grandfather had passed away from a heart attack. While playing solitaire, all because Elliot had failed to call him back. That night, Elliot went to his grandfather's house. His aunt and uncle were already there going through his stuff. "Anything you want, kiddo," his uncle said to him, waving a piece of paper. The old man had stashed a lot of cash around the house. Apparently. Guess that explains why he didn't retire. Elliot wanted to get out of there, but he noticed a ladder propped up against the attic door. "Can I go up there?" he asked. His aunt and uncle exchanged glances. "Yeah, sure," his uncle said. "But don't take too long. We have to be back in town before dark." Elliot figured it was because they had to keep up the appearance of being normal, caring relatives who had come to pay respects to their dead family member. So he went up to the attic alone. He looked around for anything of interest, old photographs, memorabilia, anything that might bring back some good memories of his grandfather, or maybe even some bad ones. But there was nothing like that up here, just a dusty old trunk in the corner. He opened it up and found an old radio inside. He pulled it out and brushed off the dust. There was a volume knob and a tuning dial, but no power cord. Then he saw a wire coming out of the back. It was frayed and torn, but he could make out the words AC wall adapter. He followed the wire and found a power strip hidden behind a loose floorboard. He plugged the radio in and it crackled to life. At first it was just static. Then he heard a voice. "Is anyone there? Please respond." Elliot spun the tuning dial again. The voice came from the same place. This wasn't a broadcast. It was coming from inside the radio. But that made no sense. Was someone messing with him? Elliot turned the volume down. "Hello," he said. There was no response. Maybe he had imagined the whole thing. Just static. A gust of wind from outside must have pushed open the window and set off the radio. He tried to turn it off, but it wouldn't switch off. It seemed to be stuck. Then he heard another voice, "Help." They know. Elliot jumped and nearly knocked himself unconscious on the attic door. What was this? Was he hearing things? Why was nobody else making a sound? Help. They know. The voice was closer now, more urgent. They know we're here. We have to leave. Elliot remembered the tuning dial and spun it frantically. But no matter what he did, he couldn't escape the voices. Then he realized there was another way to change the channel. He started flipping through the numbers on the keypad until he found one that cleared the voices out. He breathed a sigh of relief. Was it over? Then the voice started again. This time it sounded like it was coming from right next to him. Help. They know. Help. They know. Elliot dropped the radio and backed away from it. It wasn't static anymore. Whoever or whatever was in there was reaching out to him. He ran out of the attic and down the ladder. His uncle was waiting for him at the bottom. What took you so long? He snapped. Elliot handed him the radio. You got to fix this, he said. There's somebody in there trying to get out. His uncle frowned. What are you talking about? It's just an old radio. And that was when Elliot heard the voice say his name. Elliot, you're next. Then the radio cut out. Again, Elliot's uncle looked confused. See, Elliot said, that's not right. His uncle rolled his eyes. It's just an old radio, I told you, he snapped. Let's go home now. Elliot hesitated. Something told him he shouldn't leave, but his aunt and uncle insisted. On the drive home, Elliot kept thinking about the voices. Who was in the radio? Was it his grandfather? Had he been trapped in there all along? Had he been calling out to Elliot? When they reached his aunt and uncle's house, Elliot said goodbye and headed back to his own. He thought about throwing the radio away, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. So he brought it home. He couldn't stop thinking about the voices. So that night he stayed up to try to decipher them. He soon discovered that the sounds weren't random. They were Morse code. Help, it said. They know. Elliot frowned. What did it mean? He went back to the radio the next day. Using his computer, he converted the sounds into text, help. They know, help. They know. Elliot stared at the screen. Could it be that simple? Was whoever was trapped in the radio sending out a distress signal? But why and why did they know? Know what? The next message was longer. Find me before sunset. They know. We have to go. Elliot frowned. Find me. Was the radio trying to tell him where to go? But where? Then he noticed the faint outline of a word next to the messages. He zoomed in. Hawthorne. The word was barely visible. Had the person in the radio been trying to tell him that all along? He looked at the map and found Hawthorne Hill, but that place had been off-limits since the 1970s. What was it? Off-limits. Why? He decided to go check it out. But when he got there, it was deserted. All he found was a rusty old sign that read, "Stay off the grass." Elliot stepped over it and walked onto the hill. That's when he heard another message from the radio. Elliot, you're next. Then everything went silent. Elliot was suddenly very afraid. Was this a sick joke played by his imagination? Or was there something real up here? Something that wanted him dead? If you enjoyed this creepypasta, please subscribe and leave a like. Also check out our merch link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.